Dear Dating the Modern Male, I have the big question. I just started dating a new guy. He's funny, outgoing, and very attractive. He gets a lot of attention from the girls, and he's a little flirty. I feel like he cares about me, and we have a good connection. He says he's never cheated on a girlfriend before, but I do have some doubts. How do I know if he's a player? Confused, Stacy. Dear Stacy, well, you are asking the big question that seems to be at the forefront of the dating scene these days, and certainly crosses every woman's mind at some point when she gets involved with a new guy, especially an overly social, attractive one. Not only does player seem to be a trendy man warning I see splashed all over internet dating sites and social sites these days, whereby overly cautious, or perhaps recently scorned women announce to the dating world that players need not apply. It seems to be equally emerging as a man badge of sorts, whereby locker room chit-chat and water cooler shop talk involving female exploits are used in proclaiming one's player status. Player. It's not a pretty word, and in the end encapsulates some pretty serious dating issues that can lead any well-intentioned female down the road of confusion, animosity, and despair. And yet, Stacy, take heart. If one is willing, there is an opportunity to learn a great deal about men and how to effectively deal with this situation if you take some time to dive deeper into the matter. To fully address this question, we need to reference our Modern Man Book 101. And not only that, we need to open to Chapter 1. On the surface, dating is like a dance of sorts, whereby we meet, greet, take someone out on the proverbial dance floor, and see if there's a connection. On the level, however, dating is about finding a suitable life companion, or mate, who we can build a long-term, healthy relationship with. And it is this second part, the finding a mate bit, where we will find the answer to our question. Both men and women are sexual creatures by nature. In fact, a great deal of our physical, emotional, and chemical makeup revolves around defining, identifying, landing, and keeping a partner so that we may, biologically speaking, reproduce. And it is within this finding and keeping a mate part where men and women's nature generally diverge. 100,000 years ago, life was not easy. Besides hunting, gathering, maintaining a shelter, and trying to avoid death at every turn, mankind was pretty much at the mercy of nature. With most children dying before reproductive age, the survival of our species depended on two very important human natures of our different genders. One being the gentle, nurturing, caring nature of females, and the other being the aggressive, risk-taking, hunting nature of males. These opposing natures of men and women created a very valuable short-term mating and child-rearing situation, whereby men attempted to mate with as many females as possible, and females attempted to raise as many children as possible past childhood. Yes, this is an oversimplification of dating life on the planet 100,000 years ago, but this basic observation does shed valuable light on our current dilemma. Remember, this was about the survival of our species. These opposing human natures served a very valuable purpose for our early ancestors, and is on some level responsible for us being here today. The problem for you, the modern woman, is that human beings as a species are in general slow to adapt their natures over time. The primitive nature part of the male brain does not know that it's the 20th century, and women expect monogamous, long-term, nurturing relationships with their partners. The male brain of the modern male still functions chemically and emotionally on some primitive scale. It is indeed men's nature to try and find multiple mating partners while he is young and sexually viable. But alas, don't let this bit of information depress you. Remember, information is good and empowers you to take the appropriate action. Although men's raw sexual nature is not inclined to be monogamous, at least for not long periods of time, men do have a higher intellectual brain. I know, I can hear you laughing now, but it's true. Men have the mental capacity to overcome their primitive human nature and maintain healthy, long-term committed relationships. We see evidence of this every day. The true issue surrounding the male player comes down to choice. Choice on the part of the male not to engage in reckless, superficial relationships with multiple partners at one time. And this is where a knowledgeable female, and that is now you, Stacy, comes into play. You now know that on some level, all men have the capacity to be players, due in part to a once useful reproductive trait. You now know that men have the intellectual capacity to overcome this human nature by choice and have successful monogamous relationships with women. The knowledgeable female does not attempt to change the nature of the male. I think we all know how hard it is to try and change someone. She instead accepts this human nature for what it is and appeals to a man's higher brain to influence his choice. So Stacy, if you suspect even for a moment that your man may be a player, or better yet, just want to lay down some good ground rules for the relationship, you need to clearly communicate to your new guy that yes, although you may be dating, if he would like to continue dating you, it needs to be just the two of you and not seeing other people on the side. If that is not going to be the case, then this relationship is not going to work. Do not ever assume that your man will just know this. You must communicate this message early so he has a clear idea of what you expect from him. We all need a good dose of clear communication from time to time, and on this point, you cannot waver. Now, there is a right and a wrong way to go about communicating this message. The right way involves taking advantage of a quiet moment when the two of you have some one-on-one time together without distractions and sharing with him your dating expectations. The wrong way involves slapping the "I don't date players" warning across his face the first time you see him interacting with another female or in the presence of his guy friends. We do not want to scare away a potentially good guy. No one wants to be told what they can and cannot do. In fact, we all have a natural inclination to revolt against ultimatums, so don't give them one. Dating is challenging enough as it is, and we don't want to send a potentially good man running for the hills on the second or third date because you feel you need to announce to the world that you don't date players. Or your butt is history if I catch you talking with another girl. Remember, the communication of this message needs to be sincere and direct, not delivered as a warning. He will get the picture loud and clear and know the penalty if he strays. In the end, trust your instincts about a new relationship. Know that all men have in their nature, on some level, the capacity to be a player, and that you have the power to curb this behavior through good communication. Take heart, Stacy. Good female brain power can overcome basic male instincts any day of the week, and it is where I'll place my bet every single time. If after you communicate this message to your man, he does indeed turn out to be a player, better to find out early and move on along. Stay strong, Stacy. Mark.